let me just prove to you how car scene MPS Messenger is. I would like to take a brief second to apologise for the autofocus on my camera today, but don't worry, this will be rectified before the next episode. Enjoy. Right, what is up everyone? Welcome back to a new video. As you can see, we are joined by Owen, MPS Messenger, otherwise known on TikTok as The Savage. And this is a unique opportunity for me to ask him some questions and help you guys get to know him. Now we are in the old helicopter hangar, accompanied by a pigeon who's making loads and loads of noise. Owen, this is your chance. To everyone that doesn't already know, who are you, what do you do, and what got you into cars?
Well, my name's Owen Messenger and I'm the Sergeant for the Road Casualty Reduction Unit within Roads Policing for Devon and Cornwall and Dorset Police, and my job's just to reduce casualties on the road, or try to, as part of that Roads Policing Unit. I mean, how did I get into cars? I suppose I grew up in North London and my friends were all into cars, and once passing my driving licence in, I don't know, when did we decide it was?
1990, I think you said off camera.
91, something like that. So yeah, a long time ago now, and makes me feel really old. So yeah, I probably passed my driving licence when you were born.
Yeah, pretty much. So 30 years ago, give or take.
Yeah, and yeah, I was into cars kind of straight away as soon as I could afford to buy one, and I bought myself a little MG Metro, and then from there I bought a little Citroen AX GT, and that was where the interest in car modifications kind of kicked off. I started doing stuff to that, like lowering it with the springs at the front, torsion bars at the back, and engine stuff and brakes, and yeah, it kind of got me into it then, and I went on from there.
In regards to you getting into all the modifications, was there a light bulb moment that really sort of switched you over the edge, or pushed you over the edge, so to speak?
I don't think there was one particular moment, no. I think all my friends were into it, and we were just all kind of the same mould really, and we all had our different cars, and back then it was a lot of the old school, as you would call it now, with the Peugeot 205 GTIs and the RS turbos, which is kind of my background. And yeah, we were all doing it, and Novas of course were big back then, loads of Nova GTEs, and one of my friends had a little Nova GSI that we managed to, or he managed, I say we just kind of hit things with hammers, but yeah, he managed to shoehorn the Calibra turbo engine and 6-speed gearbox into, which was just utterly ridiculous, and I think it dynoed it about 280 brake horsepower plus in this Nova.
So I think currently in the car scene there's obviously a lot of iconic cars that are very much out of everyone's price bracket, or at least most regular people. And guys, of course, off camera you've mentioned to me that you've had some pretty serious cars. Now, to those of you that are thinking about tuning off this video and going to watch something else, before you go ahead and do that, let me just prove to you how car scene MPS Messenger is. Now just give them a brief rundown, really quickly. What cars have you had? And finish off by saying, what cars do you regret getting rid of?
Well, starting from the top, I suppose the AX GT, Fiesta RS Turbo came after that, then a Golf GTI 16 valve, then an Astra GTE Champion Edition, and then I had a Series 1 Escort RS Turbo, then a Renault 5 GT Turbo, RS Cosworth, Mark 1 Focus RS, 2 Subaru Imprezas, a 206 GTI, oh God, I don't know, a lot.
Now the Cosy, I think you mentioned previously, had between like 340, 360 brake running through the rear wheels.
Yeah, that was a rear wheel drive, stage 3 Cosy.
Mental car.
It didn't hang around. Yeah, there were probably a few moments with the rear wheel drive in the wet. It was
definitely a car I'd love to have a go in, but it's
very much a driver's car, that one.
For sure, yeah. For sure. Now we have had a couple of questions sent in from my Instagram live stream that I did last night. We're going to hold off on those just for a minute. There's a couple of things that I would like to ask you to maybe help them understand a little bit as to why we're doing what we're doing. Give them a brief rundown as to why you're sat here with me, how that all started and what your intentions are.
Well, back in 2013, I did a bit of a project called Mid-Devon Cruise, and that was organising a car meet in Mid-Devon. And it was just to get a bit of communication going between the police and the modified car world. You know, having grown up in the modified car world and been down to Southend every weekend in my own cars and Chelsea Cruise and everything else, there just seemed to be this disconnect between the car scene and the police, and the car scene always see the police as the enemy, and really we're not. You know, I've got as much interest in cars as you have, and you know, I just feel that we've got something to offer as well, or I certainly have in, you know, my knowledge of the car modification world and the car scene, and also that knowledge as my profession as well. So, you know, we can have that conversation about those mods, but also what the law says about it and the construction and use. And a lot of it is that people just don't understand what they can and can't have. And it's not through any fault of their own necessarily. It's because now with the advent of, or the invent, whichever you want to call it, of social media, you've got your Facebook experts, and people will ask for advice on Facebook and other social media platforms, and they will be getting such really poor advice from it. And I just wanted to, you know, make that better and give you the honest advice so that you don't get in trouble and you're not constantly getting stopped. Because, you know, when I had my little red Fiesta RS Turbo, I used to get stopped constantly, and it was a real pain. So I understand it from, you know, your side of it as well, in that you don't want to be constantly being stopped. So if I can help you understand what is legal on your car to modify and what you can and can't do, then it stops you getting stopped, and it stops you getting tickets and getting in trouble with us professionally. And, you know, therefore we don't have to spend our time dealing with you, and you don't have to spend your time dealing with us, and everyone's better off for it. And, you know, we can encourage the car meets and help you with the car meets, you know, if people engage with us, and, you know, well, basically behave at the car meets as well.
It's a bit like Chinese whispers, isn't it? And of course, I didn't necessarily understand where we were going when you knocked on my door at the start of the second lockdown and said, George, you know, what do you think about making some content? I had absolutely no idea where it would go, what would happen, and more importantly, definitely didn't think that we'd, you know, have as much success as we've had.
Absolutely.
But I can completely relate. There were so many opportunities or so many times that I've done something to my car, or friends have done something to their car, and I've always thought, well, it's okay, because my mates, brothers, cousins, hamsters, owners said I could do that. And that's kind of where we're at, is that I think everyone's in that boat, is that they know it's okay, or they think it's okay, because their mate down at the pub told them that was the case. And what we've really done is we've really highlighted that there is an indiscrepancy in the understanding of what you can and can't do with your modified car, or your car in general. And I think that we're helping people, or at least giving them a little bit more confidence. You know, people are getting stopped, and that's always going to be the case. But now they've got, tell you what, that pigeon, does he want to come down and get involved? We'll give him a seat.
He's a noisy pigeon.
He is a noisy pigeon. I think that down to the fact that we've had lots of positive messages and people have said thank you for what we're doing, I think that we're making waves in the right direction. Yeah. And I'd like to think that I'm just excited to see what's to come.
The vast majority of people in the car scene are as good as gold. And it's the same in every walk of life, is that you get the vast majority who are, you know, are really good, and then you get the minority that let down that majority. And you've only got to look through the comments to see, you know, the ACAB comments and the things like that. And they're the people that will let down everybody else when it comes to the car meet. Because, you know, when you've got a car meet of, let's say, 1,000 cars, it only takes one or two people to start doing the wheel spins and the donuts, and, you know, and that's when we have to come down and we have to deal with the complaints, and it ends up, you know, with us looking like the bad guys, where, you know, really it's not us that are the bad guys, it's the people that are letting you, the car scene, down.
Now, you were saying that you often think that the members of the public think that you guys are the bad guys for coming and stopping a car meet, for example. And I never exactly had that opinion beforehand, but I've certainly got a unique insight doing the bits that I've been doing with you. And I understand that, you know, you're as human as everyone else, and you're here just doing your job. You're trying to effectively impose the law and make sure that people behave?
Yeah, I think sometimes people don't understand that we don't make the laws. The police don't make the laws, but we do have to enforce the laws. And sometimes whether we understand, not us, but whether anyone understands that law or not, doesn't really matter. The fact is that the law's there, and we have that responsibility to enforce it. And a lot of the laws are there for everybody's safety. So the reason you can't have a flamer kit and be popping flames out the back is because if somebody walks across the back of the car, it's going to hurt. And everyone thinks, oh, it won't happen, but unfortunately it does. It was the same as at B&Q in Plymouth when we had 12 people run over by somebody doing a wheel spin.
I see it from your point of view now. It is a very, very difficult job, and I've certainly got a lot more respect having done what I've been doing with you now. And I've certainly learnt from my mistakes in the past too. And yeah, I just hope that you guys watching this content, whether that be the TikToks or the YouTube or the Instagram posts, that they just get a little bit more on board with, you're only trying to do your job. You're a decent person. I'd like to think that a lot more of the police officers around are decent too.
Absolutely they are, but unfortunately a lot of the time where we get involved with things, it's already got to a state or a position where we're having to come in and sort that out. And same in all walks of life. Sometimes people do make mistakes and things, and everybody's human. We're human. Just because we put a uniform on, we still try and do our best. But mistakes can happen. Of course they can, and we do get that tarred with the same brush. If one police officer makes a mistake, the whole of policing gets tarred with that mistake. And it's like if I fall out with a builder, do I say that all builders come under that?
I completely
banner?
agree, Owen.
Of course they don't.
If one girl cheats on you, you can't say that every single girl in the world is bad, and it's just a shame that, like you mentioned, the actions of the minority... Pigeon, please, please, please. It's just a shame that the actions of the minority speak for the majority, and it's very unfortunate that the police get tarnished even more so than everyone else. In regards to what we've been speaking about, someone did ask on my Instagram Live last night, without going into detail, mentioning no names, please discuss an interesting yet thought-provoking event that you have attended or dealt with as a police officer.
Everyone asks that, and they always expect me to come out with something horrific, something that we've dealt with on the motorway or somebody that's been hit by a train. And yes, we do have to go to those things, and yeah, they're pretty horrific, but for me that's not what sticks in my mind as one of the most memorable things that I've dealt with. The one that always sticks in my mind is a sudden death that I went to up at the hospital. And when I got there, this gentleman had nothing on him but a set of car keys. And he'd been found in a car park in the city centre, so I went back to the car park, and it was in the days before you could just press a button and the car lit up. I had to go round with the key and try and match it up. All I knew was that it was a Vauxhall. So I'm going round, and as I walked across the car park, this old lady came away from the ticket machine where she'd been buying another ticket, and she just froze in the dark, in the rain, in the middle of that car park, and she said to me, "Where did you get those car keys?" And I had to sit her down in her car, in the rain, in the dark, in that car park, and tell her what had happened.
To her husband?
To her husband. Her husband had gone, they'd gone shopping, she'd gone to the shops. He said, "I'm just going to get a haircut." And that was the last she ever saw of him. And, sitting her down and dealing with her, and I said, "Look, where do your family live?" She said, "They're a couple of hours away." I said, "That's fine. I'm going to go up the hospital with you, and I will sit with you at the hospital, no matter how long it takes. Until your family arrive." And even though that was years ago, it still makes me, I don't know, well up, I suppose, a little bit when I think back to that, because it was just so sad.
Of course it's horrendous. I just think any decent person watching these videos with more than one brain cell is going to completely be on your side and understand that, especially seeing the bigger picture, that you're here trying to help. You're not in any way taken from the car scene. You're a figure of it yourself, and you're here to help. Like I said, what have you got sat right behind you? You may as well go into that. What is this?
Well, that's mine.
Slow car.
A lot of people have said, you know, what do you drive? How do you know all this stuff? Well, that's what I drive now.
One of your many fast cars that you've had in your time.
I say I drive it. It's done 17,000 miles since 2010, so I don't drive it that often. It's a bit of a garage queen, but yeah, it's a Stage 4 Mark II Focus RS. It's got some mods.
It's got an AP rating big brake kit. You're talking eye-back lowering springs. What else have we got? Obviously, it's Stage 4.
Stage 4, so it's got the AirTech intercooler, it's got the plenum, it's got all the hardware that goes with the Stage 4. It's got Sports Cat, so no, it's not running a DCAT. It's got Sports Cat and a full Miltech system with the back boxes. So, you know, it kind of demonstrates how you can have a modified car but stay within the legislation as well.
For sure.
You know, so there's nothing on there that would contravene anything. You know, it's got the wheel spacers on it just to bring those wheels out a little bit. It just clears the AP racing kit as well. Of course.
You're definitely a bit of a fast forward fanboy, aren't you? Because I know that your son as well has got a bit of a fast forward.
Yeah, he's got an ST180.
And he was considering an RS, but now he's changed his mind and decided to go for a
Golf R, yeah.
Great car all the same, but it's not a fast forward. Still
It's not a fast forward,
sure.
no. But the problem with the RS world is it's a little bit different, and you know he would be driving it every day and you know clocking up miles on it, and
For sure.
you know maybe it's not the right car to be clocking up miles.
They're designed to be driven, but then it seems that the RS scene is very much they like their concourse cars. Now, in regards to that exact word, I didn't know what that meant.
Concourse.
Concourse. Please explain to people that don't know. I'm sure there are loads of people that do. But let us know in the comments if you didn't know what this word means. But since filming and getting to know you and understanding your particular car, explain to me what the term concourse means.
Concourse is basically the next step up from show and shine. So it's for people who are even more obsessive with cleaning their car, and your car will be marked by the judges in various areas and things as to how clean it is, and yeah, the cleanest car wins.
It's
and you
incredibly
get like
clean.
some proper trophies and things, especially within RS Owners Club and things like that. So yeah.
It's a lovely example. Okay, so going on from your extremely clean Mark II Concourse RS, running lots of power, where do you see our working relationship going in terms of what's to come on the channel, what you think might happen going forward with the content that we've been producing?
I think, moving forward, there are other areas. I'm not just responsible for modified cars and young drivers. I'm responsible for every road user, even down to pedestrians, kids coming out of schools, motorbikes, cyclists, horses. Anybody that uses the roads comes under my area. So I think we will be creating some more content that covers some of that as well, that's useful to those other road user groups. Older drivers, of course, that's a big one. That's one that we've already started.
For sure.
Because I notice in the comments that people have said about older drivers, and what are we doing about that? Well, we are doing things about that. So we've got older driver forum and
yeah. Well, guys, regarding the older drivers video, we did have a very wonderful opportunity a month or two ago. Owen set me up a Zoom call, Skype call, something on those lines, with the screenwriter or the producer,
script writer, isn't it?
The script writer of Downton Abbey, Lord Fellows. Lovely chat, amazing. My mum was very overexcited that I got to speak to him and she didn't. But guess what? We had this wonderful hour interview, asked some amazing questions. He was totally on board with it. Got home, stuck it on the trusty old laptop, and there was no audio. So that was great. So we did start with the older drivers content, but yeah, it didn't go down to plan. Not ideal.
Yeah, but what we're not going to do is forget our roots and where we started from. So although we want to do this additional content of other road users, we know where we started. We started with modified cars, and we want to keep bringing you that content as well, that will benefit you in the modified car world.
Off the back of that, can I make a little request to you that I'm sure they will be on board with? And I'm kind of hoping, fingers crossed in my pocket, that you'll say yes. What do you say to, after lockdown, in your spare time, in your home clothes, i.e. not big bright yellow police outfit, coming to a few big name car meets with me, or I go with you, either way. But we make some vlog style content of me and you interacting with our audience, but at the same time checking out their cars, again, without your police hat on. But you know what I mean, just a bit of a personal side to what we're not posting as much of now. We've been doing this serious style police stuff.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great. Me and you attend a car meet together, whether that be Players, Goodwood Festival of Speed, whether that be Ford Fair, anything along those lines. I think it'd be wicked to do that, the pair of us.
Yeah, of course.
I think it would make some cool content.
Sometimes the uniform becomes a bit of a barrier. And if I turn up at a meet with that in my own clothes and nobody knows who I am, everyone will talk to me. But if I turn up wearing this in a job car, everyone runs a mile. Yet I'm still the same person.
For sure.
You know, that's frustrating sometimes.
You're getting stopped though. You had a little bit of an interaction in Halfords the other day. You're that guy from TikTok.
Yeah.
We had it last time we were filming. A couple of the guys here building on site came and said hello to us.
One brought his car over, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and spoke to us about his tints.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's clear that we've got a lot of exciting stuff coming, guys. I know that we haven't gone massively into detail in regards to Owen's backstory and suppose what got him into cars and whatnot. But you know, there's plenty of content to come, and we just thought we'd give you a little bit of a taster in regards to a slightly less serious police collab video. But at the same time, hopefully you guys are on board with getting to know, again, I say it again, the Owen outside of uniform, even though he's wearing uniform, ironically. But it's absolutely freezing today, guys. We don't have a vast amount of time. But what we're going to do before we end up
gone to sleep.
He has gone to sleep, finally. But guys, what we're going to do before we get towards the end of the video is address a couple of questions that I have kindly had sent in from my Instagram audience. We'll do it off the cuff, we'll do it really quickly.
Yeah.
We're not going to script anything. He hasn't looked these up beforehand. This is a off the back, off the sheet. Owen, what's your answer? So, all things aside, let's get started and we'll run through these and see what you think.
Yeah, hurry up, it's freezing.
It is freezing. So the first question we had is, why do CBT riders need an L plate on the front of their vehicle when a number plate isn't required?
Right, so the L plate is just to let other people know that you are learning. So hopefully if they see that L plate, they'll know you're learning and they will make allowances for that. So, you know, if I'm driving and I see a car with an L plate on, I will stay further back from that car so that, you know, it gives them time to deal with things. And if anything goes wrong for them, I've got time to deal with it as well. And that's what the learner plates are designed for. But you can have that on the front of your car, on the front of your moped, because the L plate is generally quite floppy, whereas a number plate, you know, they were taken off the front of motorbikes because in the event of a collision, they caused injuries, and you know, people were losing limbs because the number plate was coming off and literally taking off their leg and things in a collision.
Sure.
But an L plate's not going to do that.
So yeah, whoever questioned me on that one on Instagram Live last night, thank you. So second question, whose car's faster, Owen's or George's?
Well, that'd be mine.
400 brake, 306?
Yeah.
I would say the RS is faster for sure.
Yeah.
No, you could probably drive faster on the road legally. Not in that.
Yeah, but not in that way. Yeah, that has to go on the track. Yeah,
No.
race the track, not the road.
So yeah, the third question was from X600_by. Is it illegal if your car pops flames while driving along, even if it happens naturally?
Right, natural pops and bangs are generally mapped in, and they're not actually producing flames that will come out of the tailpipe. You know, a flamer kit is designed to produce that flame to come out, but a car that is naturally mapped or mapped from the factory has to comply with the legislation before it can be sold.
Sure.
So obviously if it's going to be shooting flames out the back like a Batmobile, that is not going to pass those tests that it needs to pass before it can be sold to the public. So although you might see perhaps that orange within the exhaust, it's not actually spitting it out the back of the exhaust.
Similar to a spacer pushing out the wheel past the arch gap, is that it's something that in reality, if a copper saw a tiny little flame burble in the tailpipe, he's probably not going to feel the need to stop you. But if he's driving past you and a 9.5 foot flame pops out the back, then it might give them reason to pull you over. So I think, all things in moderation, although they don't come standard out the factory with a flamer kit, and even regarding the pops and bangs, all cars, sport cars, come with pops. I've never heard of a car leave the factory with bangs. That's the difference. And I think people need to be more literal with the phrase pop and bangs. Your car popping is fine, completely normal with a sports car.
I think
bang,
people...
bang, like...
Yeah, I mean, we've covered it in previous videos, and we've always had the questions of, well, my car does it from the factory. Well, yeah, some do, and we can't cover every model and make of car in these videos. So, if you've got an i30 or a Mark III Focus RS or, your A45 that is doing it from the factory, then
DSG
clearly
isn't it?
we're not going to be pulling every car for that. But if you've got a Corsa that is going down the road going pop, bang, 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 pop, bang, then there is something that's been done to that since it left the factory, and that's what we're going to look at.
Okay, so moving on to question number 4 from Victoria_Rose2505. Horses have liability insurance, cars and vans, etc. pay tax and insurance too. So why do bikes get away scot-free? And when I say bikes, I mean cyclists.
Yeah. So vehicle excise licence is what you pay. It's not road tax. Road tax was abolished, I believe it was shortly after the war, and vehicle excise licence is based on emissions. So if you buy a car like that, you will pay, I don't know, whatever it is, £300 or £400. But if you buy an electric car, you won't pay anything at all. Because it's not producing any emissions, and that's exactly the same for bikes. Okay, they're not producing any emissions, therefore they don't have to pay vehicle excise licence, and there is no such thing as road tax.
That makes complete sense.
So insurance-wise, a horse rider will buy their insurance to insure their horse through maybe something like BHS Gold. Cyclist is much the same. I'm a cyclist, I'm a member of British Cycling, I'm insured through British Cycling. My bike is worth about £7,000, so it's very well insured. It probably costs more than it does to insure that.
It costs more to buy your bike than it did to buy my ST.
Yeah, and I'll pay more to insure the bike than I pay to insure that RS. And that covers me for public liability on the road as well.
For sure. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So, Victoria, I hope that answers your question. Number 5, and this is from Asbo Autos, a friend of mine. Does Owen want to bring his police car down to us and we'll make it faster? True question.
No, we can't do that. The cars that we buy, and it's a common question about are the cars remapped and that. A lot of the cars that we buy are emergency services spec. So we will buy an emergency services spec car from the manufacturer. And it comes as it is. We don't then remap them. They are as they are. But generally, the emergency services spec isn't about the engine power. Maybe they will have different brakes, so bigger brakes, or the interior is different. So we don't need all the mod cons that you will have in your modern car. We get very poverty spec interior and stuff like that. So that's the difference between emergency services spec and what you would buy. You wouldn't be able to buy an emergency services spec vehicle.
For sure. Thank you for that again.
And then we drill holes in them.
Louise_ST150 has asked, what's the law on electric scooters that keep racing around?
Electric scooters, big hot topic at the moment, and there's some trials going on across the country, and down here Barnstable is one of those trial areas. Now the problem with electric scooters is they've come along since the laws around motor vehicles were written. And when those laws were written, electric scooters didn't even exist. Unfortunately now, because of what the electric scooter is, it falls under the definition of a motor vehicle, and therefore it needs everything that a motor vehicle would have. So it needs insurance, you need a license, and all that sort of stuff, which is why you can't have an e-scooter on the road.
Makes sense.
It's quite complicated when you look into it, and that's why it's taking so long to get that through, because e-scooters are great, aren't they? What a great way of getting around.
Cars, to be fair, especially 0 to 30.
Yeah, but also because of that and other things, the road network isn't suitable for having e-scooters on the road. So if all of a sudden we put thousands of e-scooters on the road, all the motorists are going to complain that there's e-scooters whizzing around everywhere.
Yeah, similar to a cycle lane. You want somewhere that
similar to bikes. Yeah, e-scooters are even worse to control because because you know they're really quick. People will whip in and out, and then you've got well, have they got insurance? Have they got a helmet on? Have they got VEL and all that sort of stuff? It's really complicated. But as it stands at the moment, unless you're in one of those areas that's doing the trial on e-scooters, they're not legal on the roads.
I don't think they should be used on the road anyway. You certainly see in LA, and Casey Neistat did a video on that. He's a YouTuber over in LA. And he just said, to get from one point to the other, you go from a restaurant to a bar, maybe you've had a little bit to drink and you don't want to drive your car, and renting an e-scooter for a couple of pounds was great. Go along the little beach side, have a nice little zoom up the road. But I suppose that the liberties, or at least the enjoyment of it is that there's not many on the road, so it's pretty cool to go on an electric scooter down the road. Same with getting on your horse. But if everyone had a horse, then it would kind of...
Yeah, then if everyone had an e-scooter, it'd be a nightmare,
exactly.
wouldn't it?
But we must swiftly move on. We are on a time constraint, so to speak. Richard_Bullbeck has said, what's the fastest you've pulled someone over, and instead of doing them, you gave them a life lesson?
It very much depends. I'm not going to give you a speed, but it very much depends on the conditions, the road conditions, and all manner of different factors as to the decision that's made at the roadside. And obviously the beauty of British policing is that we have that discretion in that we can decide at the roadside which is the best way to deal with the incident. So it's very difficult to answer that question, but that discretion also gets us into problems sometimes, because if I stopped you at, I don't know, let's say 38 and a 30 and I gave you a life lesson, and then I stopped somebody else at 38 and gave them a ticket, they could complain that
For sure, I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
Didn't give you a ticket. So it's quite difficult, and that's why when you've got the safety cameras, there is that 10% plus 2 or whatever the force area guidelines are, and they will stick to that, and that's it, because they don't want that question of unfairness.
For sure. Well, question number 8, George_MR200. Can you get done or penalised for a full cage and polycarbonate windows?
I'd have to look up the polycarbonate windows, to be honest.
I can't imagine it'd be an issue. I mean, I've got a full cage, and I know that's...
I wouldn't imagine it. I can't see a problem with the cage, as long as the cage is fitted properly, as we've covered in the other videos, and it's fitted correctly. I can't see an issue with that. Polycarbonate windows, I've never been asked that before. And in all honesty, I'd have to go and look that up, because I wouldn't want to tell you something that isn't true.
Right, guys, that brings us towards the end of these questions, so I really appreciate you for sticking around to the end of the video. As I understand, it's a lot longer than usual. Even though it doesn't take loads and loads of editing, it takes a lot less time to film, but at the same time, it takes a lot more of your day to watch. So, Owen, thank you very much for being a guest, so to speak, at my table, or your table, here at the Exeter headquarters.
On my day off.
Hopefully, guys, you want to see more content like this. If you'd like to see any other people, maybe come on to a Q&A podcast type dynamic. We'll not only invest in more equipment, invest in more quality, but hopefully, maybe within the police force, we can get some people that might have some stories to offer here at the GCM table, if you like. So guys, if you've liked this content, don't forget to let us know in the comment section below. Owen reads it as well. It will give him a great idea as to not only how the content's doing, but maybe what we can offer in the future. So if you didn't know already as well, Owen's going to be roasting your cars. We made a TikTok earlier that's posted today in regards to Owen, who is going to be doing full reviews on your cars. Now that is going to be super exciting. I've already posted that on my Instagram. So if you want to get your cars in for review, just go onto my Instagram, linked in the description section below, or just George's Car Media. Send me a private message with a few pictures and we'll get that sorted. So, like I said, thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to smash a like on the video if you haven't already. Click the little red button underneath to subscribe to be notified for more content coming. And I guess we'll just see you guys in the next video. But as always, you know how it goes. GCM, roll the outro. Do it again.